What's going on, people? It is Irish Gunner HC here, you can call me Irish, and I'm very excited to say welcome to GTA 5 on the PC. So, I thought for the first video I would go over the kind of performance, kind of mess around and see what kind of performance we can get on a overclocked i5 3570K. It's overclocked with a Cooler Master Hyper 212 Evo to 4.2 GHz. And I've got a GTX 970. I don't think the overclock is applied at the minute. I have overclocked it in the past to like 1400 megahertz and whatever the other kind of stuff is. Well, I don't think it's actually overclocked at the minute. So basically a stock Asus 970 Strix GTX card. Yeah, so they're the combination. Oh, sorry, and 8 gigabytes of Vengeance Corsair Vengeance RAM. I can't remember the memory speed, but it's like the good kind from like about 2 years ago. So, yeah, so that's it. So the graphic settings I think are maxed out. I'm pretty sure. So as you can see there, 3586 megabytes out of 40.95 megabytes. So we're over the 3.5 gigabyte kind of memory limit. So we have stumbled upon the 3.5 gigabyte memory limitation that the 970s have proven to have had. Sorry. So let's see how we get on. So right, DX11 full screen 1366 by 768, which is my monitor's resolution. I know it's not technically 1080p, but that's what we're working with for now. So we'll see. Aspect ratio auto, it's like 16 by 9, I assume. 59 hertz refresh rate. Again, it's a fairly basic monitor. FXAA off because apparently it makes things look blurry. I've never really tested it in depth, but that's just what I've heard, so I'm leaving that off. MSAA, I've turned that on to 8 times because I believe that's maximum. Whereas if you put it on 2 times and then enable NVIDIA TXAA, you get a good kind of look for look/performance. But I thought just for maxing it out, we'd go with maximum AA and then TXAA off. Then VSync on. That's not really a graphics thing. That's whatever. All these set to max. Now here we go. The juicy parts. Texture quality very high, very high. Shader quality, shadow quality very high. Reflection quality very high. Reflection MSAA, which is a really cool kind of specific thing to mention. So your reflections, the kind of, you know, have you ever played like an older game where your character and all the surroundings look great, but then you look like in a mirror or you look in a reflection and everything is kind of like blurry or whatever, or kind of jaggy? That's what this is. It's anti-aliasing basically for reflections, which is really cool. I've set that to max/x8. Water quality very high. Particles quality very high. Grass very high. Soft shadows softest. Post effects very high. Motion blur strength 0 because motion blur sucks. In-game depth of field effects, I turned them off. I seen them in some live streams last night. I do not like the motion or the sorry, I think I said motion blur. Sorry, depth of field. If I messed that up, I do apologize. Depth of field effects off. I do not like the look of the depth of field. It's like when you play Skyrim with depth of field enabled. The game kind of guesses its best guess at where the depth of field is being applied, and it just kind of comes out looking bad unless you're taking screenshots. So I've turned that off. Anisotropic filtering 16 times, as you can imagine, for textures. Ambient occlusion to high, tessellation to very high, and that's it. And then the advanced graphics, long shadows on, high resolution shadows on, high detail streaming while flying on. Extended distance scaling, which is basically level of detail, is all the way maxed out, and extended shadows distance is not an option. Oh, it is an option. Oh, well, let's fix that. I didn't realize that wasn't enabled. Okay, so there you go. Game is absolutely maxed out. Again, overclocked i5 3570K and GTX 970. Let's see how we get on. So I'm seeing it dip down into the 40s, 50s, 60 FPS. Let's look around kind of quickly. Oh, yep, definitely noticing some not great performance. I've seen issues related to the frame rate where the kind of mouse sensitivity gets messed up. It starts to become slower at higher frame rates. I'm pretty sure I'm noticing that. Yeah, it's definitely a lot less responsive on the higher frame rates. I'm not sure. Again, I might have messed that up Yeah, it's either higher frame rate slows it down or lower frame rate slows it down. I think it's the higher frame rates. But yeah, so let's just have a walk around. I'm definitely noticing stutter. Definitely, you can definitely see some stutter there. So again, if you're the kind of person that's kind of made like motion sickness easily, you're probably not enjoying this. Yeah, absolutely, definitely some stutters. We're in the 40s, and it's definitely very stuttery. It's not unplayable, I wouldn't say. To a lot of people are willing to put up with these kind of weird stutters and slow response times for graphics and stuff like that. I'm not personally one of them, so so that's me. So let's see if we can steal a car now and get an idea of the driving performance, because obviously when you're moving through the streets at high speed, that's when it's gonna affect you. And I am playing this game in first person mode. I completed the story mode on... Oh, I should turn that music off. I completed the story mode on the 360 in third person, so I have no desire to play this game in third person anymore now that first person is an option. So other than the driving I will do it for like novelty's sake occasionally, but when I'm on foot and when I'm using weapons, it's gonna be mostly first person. So yeah, you're definitely seeing, for the most part, it's relatively smooth. It's 40s to 50s, but then when there's like built up areas or whatever, like it does definitely. And I'm being, again, if you're, I do apologize if you do suffer any kind of motion sickness. I'm purposely jagging the screen all over the place, trying to look for stutter and stuff like that. It's not awful for it being what I believe is completely maxed out. It's not terrible. Like definitely when you're just driving along a street level and you're not jerking the camera around too much, it's not the most atrocious. This isn't the fastest car by any means, but we're going fast enough. Speaking of which, that looks like a fast car there, so what say we try and get into that and we see how it goes. Yeah, there's definitely stuttering on absolutely max settings. Again, it is only a 970. It doesn't have its overclock applied at the minute. I just noticed my Steam code is I like that song, but I'm gonna have to turn it off. I just noticed that my Steam code is shown down the bottom there, so I'm gonna have to blur that. It's actually funny. I tweeted earlier on about or last night about a guy who had his code stolen because he was streaming the install of the game and he forgot to turn off that message. So, as you can imagine, somebody in the stream got there before him, entered in that code, and managed to steal his game away from him, which I thought was hilarious. So yeah, as you can see, not terrible, not absolutely unplayable, not particularly enjoyable. It's definitely not 60. I've seen 40s more so than anything else. And again, I'm using the mouse and keyboard, so my driving isn't particularly interesting or talented. And I'm also like looking around and stuff like that and talking and not really paying attention, so don't mind the driving. It's the performance that we're looking at here. So I think this is going to be like maybe part 1, like maxed out. Then I'll do like a part 2, which is like minimum settings. And again, this isn't a benchmark. I'm not like running the same. I'm not running the same kind of repeating test over and over again, but you get a rough idea. Like staying in kind of downtown, driving, walking, you get that kind of, you'll get a rough actual gameplay idea rather than just kind of running one section. Yeah, it's definitely not perfect, but it's playable on absolutely max settings on an i5 3570K overclocked to 4.2 and a standard Asus Strix 970, my one at least. It's playable. I wouldn't play it on a full time, but yeah, it's definitely playable. So I think I'll wrap it up there. If you enjoyed it, please do leave a thumbs up. Keep an eye out for part 2, which will be absolute minimum settings. Sorry, I'll just call it quits there. Yeah, keep an eye out. Sorry, for part 2, which will be absolute minimum settings, just to see what kind of crazy high frame rates we can get. And then part 3 will probably be the finale, where we can kind of see what the Best. I've seen a few posts on Reddit which is kind of ideal settings and stuff like that for a 970, and particularly strangely enough, i5 3570Ks and 970s. So I'll apply them and see how I get on with those. But yeah, that's the end of part 1. If you enjoyed it, please do leave a thumbs up, subscribe if you're new here. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.